Welcome back to In the Spotlight. And Kathleen, listen, it's really important to hear the firsthand accounts of what goes on.
Totally.
So because I think it emboldens and empowers other parents to take back their school boards and to address them. Listen, these are public meetings, nothing to be intimidated about, right?
Right.
You are paying for all of this that goes on positively
School
or
board
negatively.
works for you, like Carla said.
Yeah, like Carla said, school board works for you. I mean, and we've got powers too. We've got Freedom of Information Acts where you can request information and they have to give it to you. We have Open Meeting Acts, which is what you saw happen in St. Charles and around other parts of the state, where people are actually going to their school board meeting and using that power of public comment, which they must allow for you to have public comment. And you get your 3 minutes to say. Typically it's 3 minutes. It should be longer in my opinion. But this is really important because school boards so many times just fly under the radar. And if they don't hear from you, they think it's all okay what they're doing.
Right. And and they don't really want to hear from you. So all the more reason to go.
All the more reason to go, right? And be a regular, be the squeaky wheel, and then maybe get on to some sort of community meeting where the importance in doing that is twofold. One, you get information that they are not really readily handing out to the public. And so you can alert other people in your network about what's going on so you can mobilize them for or against a policy, for or against
really
a tax
important,
referendum.
actually. Yeah.
It's really important if you care about this stuff, see if you can get on some sort of committee. Well, we've got, listen, I tell you what, if the school board doesn't want to hear from a parent, they certainly don't want to hear from a grandparent.
Right.
And we have on the line with us Max Gordon, who was a parent in District 303, St. Charles, and is now a grandparent there. So Max, welcome to our podcast.
Yeah, welcome, Jeanne and Kathleen.
Great. Good to hear from you. So you were there. You've been kind of an organizer behind the scenes once you found out what was going on with deep equity in that school district. And you were there Monday night. Could you give us an idea of what happened and what was the turnout?
It was really a culmination, and thanks for asking me on. I'm honored. But that was really a culmination of about 4 to 5 years of work there's two ladies, Michelle and Danielle and Shannon, that had and other players that had come and gone in this process. First, it was about getting better teacher-student ratio, and they got that deal done probably 4 years ago. But what we had developed into is really we would go at citizen comment. We would give citizen comments, no change. Citizen comments, no change. And we weren't finding a way to really lever the school board to do the right thing. Then deep equity shows up. Well, I think I tapped into the COVID lockdown and the our civil rights being taken away, and masks and all that compliance no longer feeling. And broadly reached out into the community once we organized ourselves around one thing. It wasn't no to critical race theory. It was yes to ABCs. And that was our phrase, yes to ABCs and no to CRT. And I think that broadened the group of participants, of people that wanted to be in. We saw a real range of ages. All of a sudden, the veterans, and we had Lady Caroline that had a connection to the veterans. We had Mitch that was very exercised about his kids, young people that came together. The key was we formed a little broader leadership team. Totally loyal and totally committed to each other about this issue. And from there, you got signature sign-ups, end up at the Blue Goose. Gratefully, the owner of the Blue Goose grocery store there in the center of town noticed. And that created a mini firestorm of attention, which was perfect. We always like it when the opposition hates us, because then they blast it out to all their friends, and boom, you got instant cred. So from there, the group, just leading up to Monday night, they took those signatures. Mitch Bridges had given a speech on, I would think it was 2/16, on February 16th, and it said, May 8th, or March 8th, how many signatures would it take for you to get to stop deep equity? And I said, well, Let's act on that. And a couple others really launched with a signature campaign that drew people in. I had a 70-year-old woman call me at the last minute. I've got 25. I've got to get them over to you. That she had been gathering from her friends. So the grassroots effort, the grassroots attitude is there. Tap into it in your local communities. Form a leadership team that's absolutely loyal and committed to each other. And then find that issue that you can all rally around and put a positive spin on it. That is the absolute key.
That's excellent. And so I feel like we're seeing something of like a revolution against this woke culture, this cancel culture. And it's going to take some really strong, smart, creative people to lead this. And a group of you who have all of those qualities found each other in St. Charles. So what are you saying to parents in other communities that maybe, they're comfortable complaining like in their little private Facebook group, it's really easy, but, feel a little isolated to stick their necks out there otherwise?
Well, that's the point. I'm not on Facebook for a reason. My mother, 40 years ago when talk radio started, was on, and I said, "What is that?" She said, "It's a share your ignorance hour." And so I'd always embedded in me that my opinion or my thoughts are really just words in the air.
Yep.
They're just noise. Mm-hmm. And then people spend time being outraged or incredulous about somebody's comment on Facebook. I said, please. So we're developing a broad, dedicated email base of people that when we need action, we broadcast to them.
So key.
With specific here's what's going to help. Mm-hmm. Stay focused, but here's what's going to help. Be polite, be succinct, be eloquent, but here's how you can help. Mm-hmm. And we peppered the school board with lots of, I said short, eloquent emails. Send them those. And then the night of, it was bigger than us. It was I will tell you, there was something supernatural that happened that night, because I couldn't have created that. Not one of us could have created that groundswell that showed up. And do you want me to share that about that group that was gathered about 50 feet from the front door?
I think it's very powerful. Yeah. I think it's really important to share it. And please describe who was in that group, because I think that tells you everything we need to know about what's going on. Absolutely.
Here I was gathered. I was buzzing around trying to grab emails. I'm the email gatherer. I'm like the Baptist. When you see a crowd pass the collection plate, I go get your email.
You got to have that guy.
You got to have that guy. So I'm doing that, and I glance over and I see about 50 feet from the entrance, about 10 to 12 people in a circle, with two of them with their hands in the air and their heads bowed. And I know they're praying.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm.
And it moved me. It absolutely touched me. I thought, oh my God, we haven't asked God to be part of this. Mm-hmm. We just are trying to do this on our own. Shame on us.
We took God out of it.
Right.
We do it ourselves. We just, okay, God, I'll be back, but I'm going to handle this by myself. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's the human instinct. So I went down, I put my hand on the shoulder. I was just compelled. I had to touch somebody. And I went down and put my hand on the shoulder of a veteran down there praying. And there was a mixed couple from Aurora that was leading this. COBB is the last name. Unbelievable. And just sweet, decent people engaging the Almighty to bless our school system.
I love that.
And I think that, for me, was a great awakening. That we get outraged and we get angry. And I said, my gosh, first we got to be for something. If you're going to be against something, be for something. Secondly, we're always reacting to these leftist goofball ideas, and really they're just trying to get short-term famous with books and seminars. I get that.
Yeah, it's a power grab.
Absolutely. They're race hustlers. That's what they are.
Well,
Corwin is a race hustler.
I get, you know what? I respect that. Good for you. Not knock yourself out, but also, I'm not offering an alternative. I'm not trying to jam 70 and 76 through the curriculum committee. I'm not trying to, jam creation through the curriculum committee. I'm just waiting till they say something stupid, and then I'm reacting. I said, so we're trying to flip that around out here and get on the inside. My whole curiosity. Yeah.
So let me just pause there for a minute. So that goes back to Carla's very first question: Why are we doing this? And if the reason is to close the achievement gap, first, do we have one compared to our peer districts? The answer, I think, that they came up with their preliminary information was that no, that District 303 actually does not have an achievement gap, and whatever gap is there is not going to be solved by deep equity. It's going to be time on task with individual tutors, and so. I also want to make another point here is that this has been a long process for you. You've been involved with these other two ladies 4 or 5 years going to the school board meetings, understanding what's going on. And then as you were able to broaden your group because this is offensive to really all sides of the political spectrum when you're pushing critical race theory down the throats of their kids, and you're teaching that one group is oppressed and the others are the oppressor. I mean, this is really nefarious Marxist ideology, and I think really I think I saw a recent poll where 57% of the people in America oppose critical race theory. It's probably even bigger than that. It's just that people don't understand what those terms mean. So here's my question. Why can't we just simply take back our public schools? Why is it so hard to win office? In your April elections out there in St. Charles, did only 15% of the voters show up, just like they did elsewhere?
Yes, of course. That's the why would you have an election in April? Because it's easy, right? You're gonna get less voters, so you have to do less work. Right. You have to do less work. You have to do less campaigning, and people are having that spring thought in their mind, moving to summer. We get that. We also, as you take back the school board, you really go after the school board. That's your community. That's our community. That's our schools. Those are our kids. The implied contract between a school and its community is the school says, send us your kids and we'll send them back educated and skilled.
Right.
Well, that's not even happening out here. We have 51% at East and 57% that are reading proficient.
Yes, but you're St. Charles. You're a very upscale community. People move there for the schools, and they don't know that only 51% of the kids read or do math at grade level.
Exactly. I think, Jeannie and Kathleen, what's happened over the last 10 years, we were riding the curve up. We were all riding the ride. Life was good, right? Full employment. Stock market was going up. 401ks blowing up. And then COVID hit and pulled the curtain back on all the nonsense.
Yeah.
And what had happened in that 10 years, I think we as conservatives just got lazy. And the left goes, that looks like an easy job. I'll do that for a while. I'll be a school board member, then I'll be a city council, then I'll run for state rep.
The other thing is conservatives were just very afraid to speak up because they didn't want to get labeled, or they didn't want to be canceled, or they didn't want to stand up to this, boys on girls sports teams, because they didn't want to deal with the blowback from that. But is there any plan to continue this effort in St. Charles, because you had a major success, and sometimes after a major success there's some energy that drops off of it. Have you guys put a plan in place to continue your efforts to keep parents involved in St. Charles?
Kathleen, that's a perfect question, because when we came out of that, the meeting ended at midnight. My involvement has only been 1 year, just to be clear. So I was upset and showed up at a rally. I was upset about the COVID, and I saw there was a rally, so I showed up in a suit, came around the corner. They were all dressed in shorts. I ran back home and came back in shorts. And I wanted to figure out. Yeah. But I wanted to figure out how did we get here?
Yeah. And
so at midnight, in fact, truth be told, my wife is in a condition I could only leave her for a few hours. I went up there at 4 to be the first presence there. If you arrive first, you kind of own the territory. There's a psychological thing about that.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's another tip. So it's by 7 o'clock. We had 100+ people out there and 62 speakers. I thought, what am I going to add to it? Let me go back, make sure my wife's okay. And I washed on. And then I said at 10:30, I thought, I got to go back so I can be part of the ending.
Yeah.
And we came out of there at midnight. And we were congratulating ourselves, and I knew that the left would reconstitute itself by 8:30 in the morning.
They never stop.
That's right.
They will never stop. Not
Well,
on
it's
any
a
issue. Yeah.
No, it's the intellectual elite self-righteousness. It's their incredulousness over our primitive thought of values and family and how can we, as uneducated, not professionals, take better care of our kids than they could.
Well,
so I knew that they would reconstitute themselves. To answer your question directly, our focus is, they said, we're going to pause and do an audit. Now, if I'm on the other side, I hope the pause sends you all away. I hope you go back.
That's exactly right. We're going to pause so you go away.
Well, I would do it to you. If I was on the other side, that's exactly how I would have played that on Monday night. So our focus is, we want in the audit. I don't believe there's going to be a fair audit or a clear audit or an unbiased audit. You give me the strings to the audit. If I'm the other side, I'll cook it to look exactly the same. That, what do you know? It lines up to deep equity. Let's go. Let's keep going. So our job right now is to insert ourselves in the audit, and that's what we're working on.
Good.
Couple,
and you're very fortunate. You do have 2 or 3 supportive school board members that are going to give you the inside track on this and going to make sure that the numbers are the numbers and that there's no monkey business going on. It is so important to win election. You have to win election. Actually, none of this would have happened. Your kids would be unmasked if you had the right people in office right now. Your kids would never been this would not even be a distraction. You would have instead actually closed the achievement gap with really good policy. Who you elect matters so much. This is absolute garbage. And, I just encourage you guys to run for election when it happens again. Stay at it. We appreciate what you've done. You are awakening. You are actually the example, honestly. Because the Naperville 203 school board didn't do a damn thing when they were outed for pushing critical race theory on their teachers, even though the teachers were upset about it. They didn't do a darn thing. We're pushing it with our own home school district here in the Wheaton-Warrenville School District. I have requested emails and contract information about DEI in our school district. They basically, the first time, this kills me, I FOIA'd like 3 years worth of data because I know they've been doing it for at least that long. I FOIA'd 3 years that they said, you know what, your request for this FOIA is too burdensome because we have over 403,000 emails about DEI. That's 125,000 emails a year.
A story in and of itself.
A year. That's another whole nother story. It's a year. That's over 10,000 emails a month about DEI in little small District 200.
Yeah.
I mean, give me a break. This is garbage. We're going after them relentlessly. And we encourage you guys to stay relentless there. Hey, we have to close out this segment.
Thank you.
But Max, we absolutely appreciate your insight and your fight.
And stay in touch.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. You're welcome. It's all of us out here. Appreciate you. Thank you.
You bet. Take care.